This is my audience. I may not have 7, but this is my audience. Hey, good afternoon. My name is Chris. My current event is the Daytona 500. I'd like to talk to you about the rich vastness and history of the specific race, and also the new changes made to the sport. The Daytona 500 was formed, of course, in Daytona, Florida, by William Bill France Sr. in 1958. Was the inaugural race. It was February 22nd. It was a awesome race that had a very controversial ending. The second thing I'd like to talk about would be the actual ending and conclusion of the race, how it took 3 days to declare the winner. It literally took everybody from NASCAR that was newly formed and also a local newspaper to actually decide who won the actual race. And the third thing that I'd like to talk about is the special event of the race, the rolling out of the Ford Mustang onto NASCAR, and also J.D. Gibbs. He was a very big racing executive for Joe Gibbs Racing. He passed away January 11th of 2019, and he was a very big purveyor of the sport. So it's also something else that kind of played into the historical event of the Daytona 500. So the Daytona 500 this year started out with the waving of the green flag, and of course Darrell Waltrip on Fox Sports saying "Boogity boogity boogie, let's go racing, boys." It was the 61st annual. It was held on February 17th, 2019. It's been in our blood. Of course, NASCAR and Daytona is because of, back in the day, moonshiners were trying to soup their cars up to get away from law enforcement, and everybody met in Daytona, just to kind of race and drag race and have a good time. So Bill France went out and said, hey, let's actually make a race of this. Let's make this a big spectacle. It became known as the Great American Race. It kicks off, it was like the Super Bowl of NASCAR. First thing happens every February. Bill France went in and he put a bunch of guys together that sanctioned the sport of NASCAR and racing, and NASCAR stands for the National Association for Stock Car Racing. They all kind of put a sanctioning on it, made rules, regulations, what can be drove, what can't, how many laps, what have you. The second thing is the first race on February 22nd of 1959. It took place, and the result was a very, very close breakneck tie. It was between Joseph Beecham and Lee Petty. Now, everybody knows Lee Petty because he's the father of the 7-time NASCAR Cup champion Richard Petty. But Lee was very, very big in bringing in the sport of NASCAR. Now, as we all know, Lee Petty won that race, but it literally wasn't him that won, because William France at the track said that Johnny Beecham had won the race. Lee Petty contested that, turned around, and 3 days later, after a news clipping came out, they had to sit and examine it. Lee Petty won by half of his front bumper. That's about less than 1/10 of a second. He was declared the winner of the Daytona 500. The third thing that I would like to talk about is J.D. Gibbs. J.D. Gibbs, as I previously stated, was the racing executive for Joe Gibbs Racing. Joe Gibbs was an NFL coach who came over to NASCAR and decided to make a race team. It was totally amazing. They have been the front runner for many, many seasons. However, he lost his life due to illnesses of the brain. So this year, on the 11th lap of the Daytona 500, it was commemorated to J.D. Gibbs. J.D. Gibbs, his favorite number was the number 11. The funny part is, and it's not so funny, is at the end of the race, Denny Hamlin of Joe Gibbs Racing, who drives the number 11 car, won the race. And as I previously stated, the Ford camp brought out the Ford Mustang. So that was a totally awesome thing. I just want to wrap up by saying that to me this is a very big thing because it's very historic, and also because it's in my blood. I grew up racing. I grew up in a family that raced. We watched the Super Bowl of races every Sunday. It was a fun time. I hope you guys enjoyed what I brought to you. Just remember that our country was founded on rebels wanting to fight against taxes. Well, this was literally rebels wanting to fight against the law for moonshining. So I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Okay, and I just wanted to also add that the citations were from an article from NASCAR Founded on History.com. The original published date was November 13th, 2009, and the Lap 11 tribute the author was Amy Liu from Fox News, and the original published date was February 15th, 2019.